What's up everyone, it's Soundwave Spectre here with another gameplay impressions video, and here today we're reviewing a PC port of a beloved classic, The Bible, now on Steam. Now what's interesting to me right off the bat is how long this game has been in development. The story for this game was written about 4,000 years ago and is still ongoing and is only now being released on Steam November 14th, 2022. Duke Nukem was in development for 12 years. We all know how that turned out. So let's see if this game can break the stigma of games stuck in development loop being absolute trash. So this game is a narrative text-based adventure where you follow adventures of various characters as they live out their travels in an ancient time. All characters are based off historical events, but also there are supposed to be some upcoming events in the content roadmap, so we'll see how that plays out. There's no confirmed date for the Revelations expansion, but some developers hinted it's coming very soon. The game itself certainly is a little dated, and you can really tell by the graphics, but considering this is an adaptation of an old classic tabletop version where the DM would bring snacks and would run a large game for everyone at a local convention center, I'm just happy to be playing it on PC from the comfort of my home. I did also play the MMO version that was popularized in 2020, but that was never as good as playing with your friends locally, in my opinion. Though, when I was a kid, I remember how crazy it would be for some of the large-scale seasonal events. The servers were often overloaded, but it was just always rewarding. So the game swaps perspectives that really highlight the game's versatility. Different characters really excel, and the variety of builds here is really impressive. Now, like in my one playthrough, one character, no spoilers, but in the very beginning fails an insight check that really screwed up the entire playthrough of the game. The choices these characters make in game really have like lasting, like a butterfly effect across the entire story. One of the early characters you meet, Abraham, really shows the consequences of his actions, but with like a maxed out life stat, you really get to see how his story would play out. And it's totally different than one of my personal favorites, Samson, who has his strength stat completely maxed out early on and just really dominates the battlefield. Later in the game, another character, Solomon, maxes out his wisdom stat, and that just plays wildly different. There really is a very, very great diversity of builds and play styles, and the game constantly evolves as you play it. My biggest problem in the game, though, is the pacing. The game is broken up into chapters, and not all are created equally. Randomly in the middle, after like a pretty interesting opening, there's just this super long and slow set of tutorials that really drag it down to a halt. But if you could weather that storm, the story picks up pretty quickly again. I will say there are a lot of points in the game where there's just characters that are just making decisions that just don't make any sense. But, once you look past that, it still is pretty solid. You can still relate to most characters in the game. Now one character that really shakes things up. Again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but in the second half of the game, it should be noted that there's a really overpowered character that gets introduced, and he just shakes up the entire game. Just completely turns the entire experience on its head. He's a little bit of a Mary Sue, but somehow it still is written pretty interesting enough. I think you'll still like him despite the fact. And the last chapter is something you would never expect. Like in the last moment of the game, the devs really just turn on the action. It's wild. Now, in terms of what I'm hoping coming out for this game, I'm really hoping that eventually they add in multiplayer, as currently they only have like a hot seat pass off kind of thing. But also I'm looking forward to crossplay with other versions. It does currently have cross save if you just put in the code of where you last were. So that's really impressive. Now, I haven't beat this game, but I'm already very excited and looking forward to Bible 2 Electric Boogaloo. But okay, enough memeing. I'm going to get into an actual impressions video of this program here. And to be honest, first off, it's not great. I appreciate what they're doing here, but at $10.04 on a launch sale and a $14.99 full price, it's pretty pricey considering you get the Bible at a dollar store, and I think for free on Audible as an audiobook. Currently, as far as I can tell, there's not even a pause option, and you have to start and stop by chapter select. not even by verse. So in terms of saving or just even like, getting up at any point, that's very inconvenient. To me, this seems like you're really paying for $10 for Steam achievements and a little trivia. And while I am a staunch trophy hunter myself, this does seem a little pricey for what it is. I will say, whether you agree or not with the context of the Bible, it certainly is one of the most impactful documents in history. So if you've ever been curious, I think it's a good place to start. I've personally been going through and trying to read a lot more recently, so this is a fun way to boost your gaming profile a little bit. And all the while, it's going to look really weird on, the Steam homepage next to real bangers like Only Fap Simulator 4. It's not the worst way to spend your money, though, I guess. I would say that the voice acting does sound a little weird in the narration, especially as the reader does a God voice.
God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God.
And I've heard people say that it sounds almost mocking, and while I don't think that's the intention, I want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt here. It certainly can take you out a bit, as though it's certainly a bargain bin James Earl Jones vibe. And if that's the case of something you want, just go to get the audiobook of James Earl Jones reading the King James Version. I imagine that would convey the same effect in a much better fashion. I'm going to note in post-production here, as I got a little further, he does voices for like every character.
Said to the serpent, "Of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die."
And it kind of gets the vibe of like almost like a parent reading to a child. So if that tone throws you off, this might not be for you. Also, the music kind of changes dramatically. That might take you out of it as well.
And fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with its seed in it on the earth.
And it was.
There's also not 100% vocal match to what's written. I mean, the message is still the same, but it's a little weird that the narration does not fit the text. All in all, my initial impressions are that it's pricey, but an interesting way to maybe convince yourself to read the Bible if you've ever been curious. I do think a lot of quality of life improvements would do wonders, such as like hyperlinks, searchable verses, etc. I know I've seen on Steam that the developer is planning on supporting it by adding other languages and such, depending on how much success it gets. So we'll see how it gets from here. I personally have been reading a lot of books that I missed over the years and was almost halfway through reading the Bible on my own. So I'm going to, I guess, continue reading it here while I'm doing other stuff. And if anything wildly changes my opinions on this after I 100% the Bible, it's fun to say 100% the Bible, I'll circle back to this video and pin a comment of any amendments I'd make to my initial impressions video. So check back down here below before buying. And while you're down there, be sure to join my Discord, link in the description below, to win a chance to win free games each month. And I'm talking about actual games, not the Bible. So like, comment what you think below, and subscribe. It really helps my channel out and helps you stay tuned for my next actual review coming out, which is going to be Modern Warfare 2 after a month. So hopefully that comes out this week. But anyway, I'm Sound Inspector, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.